Have you ever flown in an airplane? WestJet, Air Canada, you know all the buzzwords. Well, today, our guest is one of the co-founders of one of the greatest airlines, WestJet, Don Bell. Creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, awesome.
You know what, Don, we've known each other for how many years right now?
Quite a few. Yeah.
And through EO?
Through EO, yeah.
And you're our honorary member of EO as well.
That's right.
So it gets pretty exciting all of a sudden having Don Bell as a part member of EO, as an entrepreneur and growing. So I have to ask you, we're going to get in this. How did you think about WestJet? Like, how did you get that started?
Well, it was, there was four of us, as is commonly known. And it was just one of those things. You know, I met a guy. It always starts with that. So I knew Tim Morgan and Mark Hill from aviation. They're both pilots. And Mark worked for Clive Beto. And we just, on a Saturday over pizza, started talking about the idea of an airline. And I was reading an article that the night before on Southwest Airlines in Fortune magazine, and it piqued my interest of Southwest and its culture and its success, and from humble beginnings, and with Herb Kelleher and Roland King. And yeah, we just started chatting about it and gathering data, and that was the genesis of something rather unique. It was, in hindsight, probably not a great idea. A lot of bankruptcies in this industry. If you start with $1 billion to make $1 million, and there was lots of opportunity for failure and lots of examples of failure. So I think it was a combination of the right idea and the right timing. And there was no low cost carriers in Canada at that point, and they were this is mid 90s. They were really starting to take off in the US. So we kind of piggybacked on that. It was largely the Southwest model. But then a lot of copycats of Southwest we looked at. There was Morris Air, notably, that got bought by Southwest Airlines, but also there was ValueJet and a number of others. And we sort of copied that in that era. There was a lot of startup low-cost carriers in the U.S. that we kind of piggybacked on that, largely based on the Southwest model. And then just started writing a business plan and shopping our ideas around and getting turned down by everybody. And it was a super fun time. We were naive, I would say. And just got the bug and became consumed by the idea. And whenever we met somebody that would say this was a bad idea, we just thought they didn't know what they were talking about. And
so when you're an entrepreneur, okay, so you guys get together, you're at a pizza place, you're getting pizza. Now, as entrepreneurs, we get our friends, family, relatives, or idealists that come together, entrepreneurs, and they're spitballing ideas. Were you guys getting together at that time and actually saying, you know what, we got to start an airline? Or what does it look like? Like, how did those juices start to get flown? Like,
yeah, that's a good
come
question.
Together.
I had a business, a computer business, and I used to fly quite a bit. I had branches in Western Canada. I used my own plane largely, but a lot of times I'd fly if I was going to Vancouver or Kelowna or Winnipeg. I'd fly on Air Canada or Canadian, and it was very frustrating. It was they were high priced, and customer service wasn't very good, and we thought we could do it better. And that was the simple idea that became.
And it's interesting because I call it like R&Ds, like people go research and development, rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
And then when other people are looking at this, and you had your own plane, you're in Kelowna.
Yeah.
And would you rent it out, or how did you get other people involved to know that you could do it cheaper? Like what was that point saying, well, we can make this way cheaper. They're making too much money over here. We can actually do it ourselves cheaper.
We copied the Southwest model. Southwest was a simple model. They didn't interline. They flew one type. They didn't serve meals, no first class. And their number of employees per aircraft as a measure was one of the metrics was much lower than the incumbent carriers. So it was a simpler business model. And which translated to lower cost, which translates to lower fares, which translates to stimulation. And yeah, that was really the idea. It was low cost at any cost, except for safety, of course. But we really pushed that mantra. We thought if we're 20 or 30 or 40% less cost than our competitors, we're bound to be successful. If we're charging a $200 fare and making money, or back then it was more like a $99 fare and making money, and the incumbents were charging $99 and losing money. Eventually something, we're going to break through.
So when was that changing point for you guys to realize that you had something? So you purchased the planes.
Well, we've shopped the idea to a lot of people and got a lot of no's. And it wasn't until we actually asked David Neilman, who was instrumental in growing Morris Air, and then it sold to Southwest. And he had a non-compete in the U.S. after that sale. We asked him to come and give us a hand selling this idea of a low-cost carrier to potential investors. And he did. And he had a compelling story. And I think 11 of the 12 people that we invited to that meeting signed up, and we raised around $8.5 million. And that was the turning point when we finally had somebody that had done it before that we could piggyback on to say, yeah, this will work in Canada. This is a good idea. And got some investors on board, and then the realization that, oh man, we got to go do this. And where do you find airplanes? And
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
where do you find airplanes?
Well, it's a good question. There was no eBay back then, so you could look on there. It was just through networking. We found a couple of retired 737s that were in the Canadian Airlines fleet, and they had been involved with another startup airline, and we purchased those from the buyer out of New York. And
what was the cost of an airplane back then?
Oh, that wasn't very much. It was $2 or $3 million, or $3 or $4 million. I forget.
Right.
Not very much money.
And that's on a used one.
Used one.
Yeah.
And we painted them and buffed them up, made them look good.
And then started.
That was the start. We started with 2 and added our third within a week or two. And the third one was a combi, which was used for both passenger and freight. They could convert it, had a massive door, and when it wasn't pressurized sitting on the ground, the door would actually leak on people. And because it was a big, huge door around the front left side of the cabin. But anyway, yeah, lots of stories about early airplanes and the 737-200 that got us in the air.
So so the question, one of the things, because you talk about the 737, one of your first airplanes. Now, you've got your 737, and then you guys also, and I'm going to talk about 2 things here, because one of the things about culture, I'm going to go into culture, but I want to talk about this. There's the story about you retiring the planes too, but I want to get to that in a minute. But one of the things is that you guys actually created a great culture, and one of the things that you said was hire to attitude policies. Yeah. What is a hire to attitude policy?
Well, our mantra was hire for attitude, train for skills, except of course for the pilots. But attitude is everything in business. And we felt that if you hired somebody that would come to work and it was natural for them to be wonderful in customer service, that you didn't have to train them or guide them. They just came and they were themselves. If you could find those type of people, it would self-perpetuate because people want to work in environments like that and would be attracted to it. And we ended up getting literally thousands of unsolicited resumes every month for people that wanted to come and work in that environment. But it was a attitude, people first environment. We put our people ahead of our customers. We put our people ahead of our shareholders. So it was people, customer, shareholder. And we largely did things that were, on purpose, good for our people, which probably were good for the customer and probably ended up being good for the shareholder. If your people are happy, that usually rubs off on the customer, and that's got to be good for business. And it was that simple. It was just that simple.
So how did you come up with that idea? Where did you see that that aha moment? Because it's easy to say.
I think that was, I was in the computer business from the late 70s, and computers didn't work very well. So I had to hone my customer service skills. And, I loved that part of the business, and then Southwest Airlines just took it to a level that was, next level of the culture at Southwest was based on Herb Kelleher's personality, and he was a people first guy, and I loved that. Some of the nomenclature they used, and some of the ways that he engaged his people was just wonderful, and that I was completely enamored by Southwest and their culture.
Interesting. Now, as you're growing, getting things going, and then you're in the computer side, on the tech side.
Yeah.
Now, we always talk about when people your greatest gifts and abilities. What's your superpower? And everybody out there goes, "Well, I'm not quite sure," or "I think it's this." But where your superpower comes in as a whole, because it's obviously says where you are today, where you've been, and all that, is what was your greatest superpower? Because you've created some amazing stuff.
I don't know greatest superpower, but there is a story around the IT part of it, because being an IT guy at that time, I mean, I loved aviation, but my work was computers, and so I got to combine what I knew with what I loved. And one of the first tasks that I took on was finding a reservation system, and I went out and looked at all of the incumbents, the Galileo, WorldSpan, Sabre. There's a Amadeus. There's a whole bunch of airline reservation systems that run under this global distribution system, and I just found it was clunky and archaic and awful, and it was hard to believe that the industry ran on such a clunky system. It was just terrible. I said, well, we can't, and it was expensive. It was going to be, I don't know. I remember around $20 for a couple to fly back and forth to Vancouver, for instance. We'd have to pay around $20 just in reservation fees. So the fees and charges and reporting and data lines and all the stuff that goes along with one of the incumbent reservation platforms. So Dave Nealman introduced me to Dave Evans, a guy from Salt Lake City, and Dave had written the ticketless engine for Southwest Airlines, and he had a rudimentary booking system. So we got together, and I said, "Look, I'll help you get this thing going for WestJet, and I'll help you sell it to other airlines. But I've been in the computer business. I'm not too interested in having shares in your business, but we can always use your shares in WestJet." And he goes, "Well, airlines are a risky business." So we developed a system, and I helped him sell it to Ryanair and EasyJet and around the world, and fast forward to today, it's the second largest reservation platform on the planet, larger than I believe it's larger in terms of revenue passengers boarded than Sabre and Travelocity put together. So it was a little startup that largely got its kickoff at WestJet, and now the second largest in the world. It's kind of neat. A story within a story. And that was the reservation system gave us the agility to it was fast and agile, and it would scale to the moon, and it just gave our people the tools to give great customer service. And I think that was a real turning point, because had we not had that, we would have had to have one of the clunky. And those res systems have now got better and cheaper as a result of us coming to the scene with a cheaper system.
So when you started the system, so the system's in with WestJet, you've got it going, you're lining it up. Now you have competitors. Example, Air Canada. Mm-hmm. Now, would they sell that system to Air Canada at the time?
Well, Air Canada was on a platform called, I think, Res 3, which was a derivative of maybe the British airline booking system. I don't remember exactly, but it was one of those clunky systems that airlines would use. And Air Canada was a complex airline with lots of interline and different types of airplanes and different classes of seats and so on. So it would be very tough for them to switch to the model we had. Ours was a very simple reservation platform. We didn't didn't code share with anybody. We didn't have interline agreements. We didn't have different classes. We pioneered in Canada you buy the seat, you own the seat. So we didn't overbook. There was no overbooking. And you didn't have a ticket. We also pioneered the ticketless concept in Canada. So when you didn't have to remember your reservation code, you just showed up at the airport with your name, and not many people forget that, and put you on the airplane. And from my computer days, I used to sell to hotels and restaurants, and we used a little printer. And that little printer became the boarding pass. We used that to print the boarding passes and got rid of the whole idea of tickets.
And it's amazing when you think about it. So fast forward from then to today, you have AI, you have all this, and it's kind of like the Jetsons. So you look what you were doing. You guys were so ahead of your time there to say, okay, you can show up. And then you fast forward to here we are today, that you can actually go on an airplane now and do bioscan. They scan your face, and you can walk through. You obviously there's boarding pass. What's a boarding pass? Now our phones take it. Like where you were at and starting, like that's a massive leap ahead of the industry.
Yeah, this is 1995, so it was pretty, life changing for the industry. I think it kickstarted a lot of that change. The ticketless thing was important. The traditional airline reservations are based on a ticket. The ticket is the value document, and the ticket, the reservation are very loosely connected, if at all, which is kind of funny.
So when you see it back then, you looked at it, and you were in that game, you're playing it, you're the entrepreneur, you're doing this, and you're developing it. Where's that one moment you go, oh my God, we've done it? Like we're
I don't think
something?
I don't think that moment ever occurred. We were always a little bit scared to death because you don't know what's around the corner, and we were kind of bombarded by Transport Canada in the first year. I think within 9 months of startup, with an edict to change our maintenance program from the one that the airplanes had been on their entire life, which was an on-condition system that had been developed by Canadian Airlines, and for those airplanes, and through some maybe dubious goings on, and maybe Air Canada was involved. Transport Canada asked us to change to the Boeing maintenance planning document, I think.
And why? You said it was. I wanted to kind of.
It was, in our opinion, in hindsight, it was largely political. I think somebody might have said to Transport Canada. This is just after there was a crash of ValueJet in Florida when one of their aircraft
in the Everglades.
It had some oxygen generators in the belly that weren't properly sealed for travel, maybe, and it burnt from the inside out, and it was quite a spectacular accident into the Florida Everglades. And I think somebody had said to Transport, you don't want an accident like this on your watch, and WestJet's a low-cost carrier, so you better take a good look at that. But yeah, it's a long time ago, and I have vague memories of it. But.
And that must have been one of those things. Are you kidding me? We're safe. We're up to protocol here, and understanding that.
Yeah, that was tough, and we had to shut the airline down for around 10 days, and that was a turning point in our culture, because the first decision we made that night was we're not going to lay anybody off, and we brought everybody in, pilots and call center agents and flight attendants, and everybody helped out, and we got the paperwork sorted out and relaunched around 10 days later. And I remember Bill Lamberton coming to me and said, Don, we're going to be really busy. Expect, 5,000 calls in the call center tomorrow morning. Well, we got 50,000, and we knew we were back in business.
50,000 calls, from 5,000 to go to 50,000.
Well, we were expecting 5, and we ended up getting 50. So we launched, all our flights anywhere we fly for $49, and the public supported us through the whole thing.
Yeah, because being Calgary-based and Alberta-based, and then locally owned and owned and operated.
Western Canadian.
It's an amazing story when you look at it, and where it's gone, where it's going, and how it just keeps, and what you've done, and every aspect of that.
Yeah, it's a big airline now, 196 airplanes.
Hey, take a minute and smash that subscribe button, and let's get back to the episode. What was your hardest point in that whole process that kept you up at night? Was there one particular item that kind of
I think we were always afraid of an incident or accident. That was something that was always in the back of our minds. And, we took that very seriously. I mean, other than that, there's, all the pressures of business. So it was never easy.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Most fun I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that is so awesome.
So many engaged people that were all rowing down the same path. It was so much fun.
Did you now, because you have your pilot's license?
I do.
Did you ever fly? But actually fly passengers?
Yeah, I have an airline transport rating, and I'm a 737 captain, and I flew regular flights
with WestJet.
With WestJet.
Was that because you needed to, or because you wanted to?
Oh, I wanted to.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you let everybody know?
You'd rather get up on a nice Friday morning with the sun shining over the snow-capped mountains and take off in your 737 going to Vancouver, or sit in an office looking out the window?
So would you ever get out and then all of a sudden everyone's in the back, you open the door, okay, you look at this before obviously 9/11. So you look in the back and go, all right, guys, WestJet owner here, I'm going to fly you today.
No, I never did that.
No. And then everybody be looking at you going, wow, that is.
No, I did get a lot of respect from the other pilots that, I was able to fly, and, that was hard for them to tell me how tough their job was when I was doing it. So there was good camaraderie, and we had a great relationship with our pilots.
Good. Well, one of the stories, and I got to hear the story, and it's absolutely amazing, and you can see it on YouTube, and it's everything. But I wanted to hear more of the story, the retirement of the WestJet from this. I believe it's the second retirement of the 737 and the 200 retirement.
The 200 series. So basically, last flight on the last day of the last airplane of the 200 series before we switched to the new gen, the 678 and 900 series. So that we had 700s coming on, and it came to a point where we're going to retire the last 737-200. And I thought it would be fun to buzz the hangar. And this is, about as much thought that was put into it. So the day came, and we called the control tower and asked if it was okay if we did a flyby. And they said, yeah, sure. It's not very busy this morning. That'll be fun, or that'll be fine with us. And they requested that we did a flyby the tower so they could take pictures. They really were interested in that. So we did 3 flybys. One was down the runway, and the second one was in front of the control tower. And the third one was at go-around thrust, and we we got pretty close to the hangar. We asked the controllers, can we fly between the taxiway and the hangar? And they said, yeah, sure. And we said, how low can we go? Go as low as you want, just don't hit anything. So it was pretty fun. And there was only 3 of us on board, and of course, no bags and no other people. So it was pretty fast. And we buzzed the hangar doing about fast.
Yeah.
Very fast.
I'm thinking Top Gun when they buzz the hangar.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Similar to that. And we, there's a bunch of our people there, to pay tribute to this wonderful airplane. And buzzed the hangar, and then did a pull up and didn't start slowing down till we hit 15 or 16,000 feet. It was pretty fun.
Oh,
and under I remember after we landed, there's an Air Canada guy that gets on the radio, and he goes, Tower, this is Air Canada 765. And I'm going, oh, what's he gonna? He goes, can we do that? So it was pretty fun. It is on YouTube. It's if you Google WestJet 737-200 flyby, I think you'll find it. It's done to Coldplay music. It's actually it's a fun video.
Yeah, I watched that this morning. I was looking at it, and I saw the video, and it was amazing, because when you look at it in the flyby, and I'm going, and you think about flyby, and you think about Top Gun, and I'm thinking, and I'm going, you can actually do a flyby in Calgary, and then go back in the day. Can they do that now?
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I haven't asked lately, but they were pretty accommodating at the time. And then when we were finished, they brought out the water cannons, the fire trucks, and they did the water cannon spray of the airplane. It's a typical retirement thing that's done.
And then once it's retired, the plane's retired. Now what happens to the plane?
I'm not sure where that one went. It went to a third world country somewhere.
Oh, so it's being sold and used again somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's not dismantled and put to the.
I think some might have become beer cans, but most went on to yet another career.
So now that you're finished up with, obviously a while ago finished up with WestJet and going, what was that transition like as an entrepreneur owner, and then all of a sudden moving to the next phase of your life?
For me, it was fine because I've always been quite busy and I have a lot of interests. I get ants in my pants pretty easily, and I picked up helicopter flying. It was a bucket list thing, and got my commercial helicopter license a few years ago. And we buy and sell helicopters. It's turned into a real business, and that's fun. The A-Star helicopter, and I partnered with a gentleman that I worked with at WestJet, that a really smart guy. That around the executive team, there was talk that he would have been CEO if he stayed. And we started a development business in 2005, and that's also grown into a pretty decent sized business. So,
Wow.
yeah, I sit on a number of boards still, and both private and well, I did sit on a public board, and a bunch of charities and nonprofits, and I keep busy.
Keep busy. Now, out of all the helicopters, picking them up and doing, what's been the most exciting part of that journey?
Learning to fly it was definitely the most fun. It's tough. They're tough to hover. And then of course, as soon as you learn how to hover, you do an auto rotation, which is basically land without an engine. So those were, yeah, it was drinking from a fire hose. Learning how to fly a different type of machine was a ton of fun. A ton of fun.
Have you ever had a near miss?
No.
Like in your life that all of a sudden, whoa, that was close.
No, I honestly haven't.
Good. I say that good because you're still here. So that's a good
sign.
sign.
I think it was just, every instructor I had, my helicopter instructors were the best in the industry. My initial instructor had 20,000 hours. My secondary instructor was out of Penticton, and 60 years old and probably around the same number of instructing hours. And he taught me the A-Star and mountain flying. And then another gentleman in Calgary that certifies 70 or 80 pilots every year taught me my commercial license. So I picked some really high-end instructors. And then with my airline training, we were very safety conscious all the time.
Oh yeah.
And when I trained at WestJet, I had to train with the training captain, and then there'd be a Transport Canada guy in the back watching both of us. So it was always a little stressful.
So with everything that you've done, what has been, as a young entrepreneur starting up, and then where you're at, because from talking about place having the pizza and all of a sudden you're going to start up an airline, and risky in Southwest, and you're following that. What would you tell young entrepreneurs, or any entrepreneur, what do they have to do to be focused, or whatever that would be to them, young entrepreneurs?
I think a lot of people want all the answers before they'll start, and that's not the way to do it. Get enough answers that you're confident, and then just plow ahead. And the naysayers, largely you can listen to them, but don't pay a lot of attention to it, because did we prove them all wrong? I guess we did. Why was WestJet a success? And there was a multitude of failures in the airline, with airline startups. Could have been a good business model and good timing, and I don't know, there's probably a lot of little things that were at play at the time that helped us to succeed. But the most compelling one was we were absolutely consumed with the idea. We didn't want to hear anybody tell us we couldn't do it. So I guess we were right in the long run. And we were a good team. We all were complementary, and we had complementary skills. And I focused on the customer side of the business, the culture and customer side, anything that touched the customer. And I was passionate about that, and it was a lot of fun for me. So, and I got to fly, and yeah.
So looking at airplanes today and technology with AI, where we're at today versus then, and where we are, how do you see the industry today?
How do I see the industry today? It should evolve quicker. It frustrates me that reservation systems are still so clunky. I mean, you look at your Apple iPad or your iPhone or your Samsung phone, and the things you can do on it and the apps that are available, and they just work and they're slick, and you can go back and change things. And or Amazon, for example, they're the systems that airlines use they're getting better. I mean, some airlines have done an okay job at it, but they're usually lipstick on a pig. There's a lot of systems built over top of the core systems, the core airline system. So yeah, it would be neat to see that. Like, why can't you change flights with a couple of touches on an app? Or, why is it so hard to rebook? Or why is it so hard to make changes? Or why is it so hard to find out, where your bag is? All that stuff's getting better, but it's got a long ways to go.
And it's interesting because as you're talking about it and growing, because I keep thinking of the government, as in how government is slow in making changes in what they do, because their systems are so archaic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just takes a long time to change. But then you talk about cybersecurity. You think about cybersecurity and how AI and then security, that all of a sudden, what was it, a few months ago, that closed the airline rate down for bookings. Like, so coming into and say, okay, all of a sudden the security factor of that you can hack into the system is just like, holy crow, it's real. So how much better can that get? So, and your opinion on something like that?
Yeah, I don't know I've been out of the business for long enough that I watch it, on a tertiary level, but it seems to me that the issues that are caused by, the fact that all these systems are bolted to the internet, and the internet has all these holes in it that people can tunnel into systems and get inside through phishing and a bunch of other methods. And once they get inside, they can cause havoc with
all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. In 1995, when we started WestJet, I sent an email to a colleague in Salt Lake, and I was on the phone saying, "Did you get it? Did you get it?" And so 95 was really early days for email. And that's not that long ago. And, we've got a long ways to go in terms of security, and AI is going to revolutionize a lot of stuff. And I'm using different AI engines and loving it. And just figuring out how all that stuff works. But yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Do you know what, Don? Mm-hmm. This has been absolutely amazing having you on Shed Talk. And is there any one last thing you'd like to tell any entrepreneur, anyone out there listening, one go-to for anyone?
Yeah, just go for it. If it's something, well, and do stuff that you like and stuff that you know. But if you know something and you like something, and just go for it. I mean, who wants to sit working for somebody else the rest of their life, and and miss opportunities to go and do stuff? And you'll never get it right, at the onset. But if you've got a great idea, and you've got a great idea, and you've done your homework, and you're passionate about it, and you're committed to it, then just go for it.
Oh, quick question.
I've never actually really worked for anybody, so I might be the wrong guy to ask.
But at the same time, did you have mentors?
Yes, I had great mentors as a kid.
Yeah. And who was one of your greatest mentors?
Well, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I used to follow Zig Ziglar back when I was just starting out, and he was a great, there was a lot of good learnings from him, and a lot of people like that. And then friends that I'd met in business that were older than me that would, I'd pick up things from all of them.
Now, are you
still do?
So now picking up a lot of things. Now, obviously you're over 55. Okay. And retirement. Would you consider yourself retired, or what would you call it?
I'm not working for anyone, but I wouldn't say retired. I'm a little too busy to call myself retired.
And because I talk to a lot of people that are in the retirement stage, because it's, if I retire, they're going to die. It's kind of like one of those things, they got to keep going, and it's finding purpose. And what would you say one of your greatest purposes of life is right now?
My family.
Oh
yeah, for sure. My kids are cool. I got 4 kids, and following them in their journey is super fun. And my wife, we have a blast.
And do you fly?
Yeah, I fly the helicopter regularly. I have an A-Star B2, And I have, we moved into a new place. So I built a hangar in the backyard, and that's pretty cool, getting to be able to fly out of your backyard and fly around Western Canada. And I still fly a small airplane. I have a twin engine airplane.
So you don't take commercial then?
Oh yeah. I don't go long distances in the little airplane.
The little one.
So WestJet gives me a pretty good deal.
So you have reward points with your gold member with WestJet?
I'm a retired executive, and I get retired executive privileges.
So is that better than platinum?
Maybe a little.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to work towards that.
Yeah. Start an airline.
Start an airline, exactly. You know what, Don? Thank you very much for being on Shed Talk. And like, share, hit that button, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Now you know. Shed Talk.